Morning. I'm very happy to present Zorica Trikić. Of course, she is from International Step by Step Association, but has been a long-term friend with a lot of us. And the topic that she's going to be talking about today, social justice, is very close to everything that she does, but it's also very close to the approach that we're trying to take in our ARISE project and generally in NEPC's work. So without too much words about Zorica, although I would have many, I'm sure that her presentation in a way will actually say a lot about her just by being her, you will know. So thank you so much, Zorica. Go ahead. We are all here listening, and then we'll have some time for questions and answers after you finish. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Lana. Thank you, Lana, for your kind words, and thank you for inviting me. And before we start, let's clean this space after these nice words about me. Imagine that you have a piece of paper and that you are writing on that piece of paper everything that you expect from me and from this session today. Just imagine that you are doing it. Are you finished with writing? Now do this with the paper, I don't know the English word, and throw it away. And let's start this event with our clear mind and without expectations, just follow the flow. And as Lana said, I'm Zorica Trikić. I think by my name you can guess that I'm from the region. I'm from Serbia, but at the moment I'm working in the International Step by Step Association, and today I'm going to make a mess. With you, we are going to talk about discrimination and oppression. So we are going to try to dig very deep and to find the real roots of all the problems we are trying to deal with. And I'm not promising that we can together find the real solutions, but I hope at least we are going to get inspired by things that I'm going to say. And now I'm going to share my screen, hopefully successfully. And do you see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, please let me know, because I'm always very nervous with these things, and I'm very sad that I don't really see you, but what to do. So as I said, we are going to try to unpack discrimination and oppression, and this is a big task, and people are doing that for many decades. I don't know how successful we are in that job, but what I know for sure is that we should never give up. So let me see. Okay, so this is the overview of the session. We are going to discuss a little bit about why this topic. Then we are going to talk a little bit about understanding, domains of understanding and action if we want to tackle issues connected with oppression and discrimination. We are going to unpack key concepts. Then we are really going to dive in discrimination and oppression. And as far as I know, there is like 15 minutes at the end of the session for questions and answers, but I kindly ask you, do not sit on your knees. So please feel comfortable to ask me, to stop me, to ask me a question, or to tell me that I'm talking about something that you already know and that you would like me to do something else. I'm very open and flexible. I believe that the only thing that is important is that we spend this hour in the most meaningful way possible. So why this topic? Because we cannot solve any problem if we do not address crucial issues in society, and also if we do not look at the educational system as an extremely powerful system that can contribute to perpetuating or breaking the systems of discrimination and oppression. And I like to say that people are just denying this subversive potential of the educational system. What we teach children, what is real truth and what is reality, really influences the way how they see the world and how they see themselves and the others, or otherness. We also need to tackle this topic because discrimination and oppression have devastating effects on children, both from dominant and underprivileged groups. So it's not true that only children from marginalized, vulnerable, underprivileged groups are suffering. It's also about what's happening with children from dominant groups. And I think we have to talk about this because we can make a change. We can really start understanding that as individuals and especially as groups, we can make a change. So as setting the stage, these are domains of understanding and action. Many years ago, almost 20 years ago, with my friend and colleague Jelena Vranješević, I think some of you know her, we started with neither black nor white program, and then that program became like a core part of the program that we implement in ISSA. And these are really three key concepts in the whole story when we think about what we can, how to understand what's going on and what we can do to take the action. So the first is naming. Naming means putting language into reality, naming reality. Because as you all know, if things do not have name, they do not exist. And I'm sure that you're familiar that people are saying now, oh, come on, what happened with our society, so much sexual abuse, so much sexual abuse against children. It didn't exist in the past. I don't believe. I think it was always there, but we didn't have a name. So we couldn't talk about that. Recently, last year, European Union started to talk about anti-Gypsyism. All of you who are working with Roma population, you know that that phenomenon was there always, but it didn't have a name. So that's about naming. And in general, language has very big power because language is defining the way how we think, the way how we see reality, and consequently the way how we are going to act. The second part is about voicing, and voicing means giving voice to those who are usually silenced, to the individuals and groups who are usually invisible in our society. And the third part is building alliances. And we all talk about partnerships and working together, but alliances, building alliances means that we are, that we share values, that we share, and I'm sure Nedim talked about values with you, but it's about sharing values. It's about building bridges, usually between those who are vulnerable or invisible or discriminated and those who are coming from dominant groups. And when I started to work in this field, I was like wondering what I'm doing here, because I'm privileged. I'm white, I'm blonde, I have green eyes, I have a very good socioeconomic background, at least in my nuclear family, not so good today. I think I would speak much better if I could see you. Now I'm looking at this screen and I don't have a feeling what's going on. Okay, so I was asking people what I'm doing here, and they told me you are the best possible ally because your voice is heard, your actions are taken into account. So building alliances is also about bridging the gap between those who have power and those who are powerless. If you have any questions, scream because I don't see you. So let us start from the beginning. What do you see in this photo? You have 1 minute. Do you see a beggar? Do you see children who are begging in the street instead of being at school? Do you see poor children? Or do you see something else? Anybody wants to say? You don't have to share. It's really up to you. Okay, I hope that.
Okay, let us
We're
What do you see? Because I don't see you, I have no clue. Are you ready to talk or not?
Tiana wanted to say something. Go ahead, Tiana.
Yeah, it was me. I didn't see any of the points that Zorica put in the bullets before she put them, but then when I saw her questions and suggestions, I started thinking in that direction. I was at first glance, I saw some children probably waiting for something, but nothing more than that. But
okay, so you saw something else,
yeah.
not mine. You saw children waiting for something.
But that's maybe due to the size of my screen, or maybe I'm missing some details. But yeah, this was the first thing that came to my mind.
Okay, anybody else?
Zorica, Petrit
Yes.
is speaking. Petrit from Kosovo is speaking. It's nice to meet you after 13 years when we were...
Patrick Salimi. No.
Petrit Tahiri.
Oh, hi, Patrick.
Okay, so I see something else also, or I can say that I see some children, nothing else.
Oh, you had a good training. Okay. Thank you, Patrick. Anybody else? Okay, so what do you see now?
Some students playing with their teachers, with their teacher, one teacher.
Did you change your first impression now when you see the whole picture, the complete picture, or at least the bigger part of the picture?
Well, now it doesn't look like they're waiting. It looks like they are engaged in an activity with an adult.
Yes, the fact that there is an adult makes me feel like they're safer.
Although you have no clue who adult is.
Of course.
No, what is happening, what happens usually is that in the first photo, people see beggars and see children cleaning shoes, because we are using these photos for many years. And they immediately have, they judge, and they say they don't say I see, they say these are beggars, or these are children cleaning shoes, or these are school dropouts. And why do you think this is? And then when they see the whole picture, sometimes they are surprised, sometimes they say that this activity looks a little bit different when you do it in person. But what is happening when they see the big picture, either they change completely what they were thinking and again make a judgment, or that's why I was making joke with Lana. You think they're safer, but you have no clue who is adult. They do everything to justify their first opinion. So they say, oh, these are the shoe cleaners just making a break. Or these are beggars, but this woman is kind and she's playing with them. So this is how our brain is functioning. Our brain is made to make judgments. Our brain is made to bring clarity in situations which are unclear. And the problem is not in us judging about something. It's not about forming opinion about something. The problem is when we start to believe that what we think is true. I hope it's clear, because that's the first, our brain is the place of where all the horror starts. The way how we perceive the world, the way how we think about the world, the way how we judge about what we see defines the way how we are acting, as I said many times until now. So stereotyping, and this is what happened when we were watching these photos. By seeing few characteristics, we very quickly made generalizations, and we immediately made a decision what is happening there. And this is how the whole process starts. And this is one of my favorite illustrations. Unfortunately, some of us in the region felt it on our skin, how this process is fast and simple. Only 5 steps from gossiping to genocide. So gossiping, we start by seeing things, we start about saying stereotypical, usually negative things about the others. Then we start to build social distance because we are easily, we go to at least 2 groups, us and them, and we are good and them are bad, and we should not be close, we should have distance. Then the communication stops. And if you remember 90s in our region, this is how it started. We started to listen and to talk and to comment the others as bad and somebody who wants to harm us. Then the society created, media mostly, they created conditions in which the social distance was created, so we couldn't communicate with each other. We didn't have contact. We didn't communicate with real people, but with our images and our stereotypes about these people. And then discrimination enters, which means that if they are so bad and they are like this and this, we have right as the good ones to limit their rights, to take some benefits and privileges from them. We have right because they are less, and in this process, these people are, the others, are less and less human beings. So it's easy to hurt them because they are not human beings. It's okay to do whatever we want with them because they are not good as we are, and they are less worth than we are. And the 5th step is genocide, because if they are not good, if they are not humans, we can easily get rid of them. So you see how this process, which starts like we like to laugh and to tell jokes, and we don't understand how stereotyping and how labeling people and putting them in different, in the boxes, how dangerous is that? And how this first step very easily can lead us to something that nobody wants to happen. Do you have any question, any comment on this? Please keep this in mind, that whenever I see that some things are happening, I'm going back to this Allport's 5 step, and I'm like, where we are now, what's going on? You can see it now with this religious violence, and how in a very systematic way we dehumanize the others. How we take, because if we are able to dehumanize them, then people are losing empathy. People do not have empathy for what they are going through. And I also want to show you one video, and I hope you will hear the sound. It's a video which is also showing how stereotyping affects children. Do you hear the sound?
No, no, Zorica, you should stop sharing. Then on the share screen option, you have to click on the left side, which says play audio.
Yeah, but I didn't have it.
Okay,
That's why I was. That's why I was.
I will now make you a co-host, so maybe you will have that option. Now just click on the share screen, and on the left bottom side you will see share sound. Then share your presentation.
You shouldn't. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that?
Like right after you click share screen.
Yeah.
On the left bottom.
So I have chat, stop recording, breakout rooms, reactions, blah, 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 blah.
Znači moraš kliknuti na share screen i kad se otvori ovo šta da šeraš, u lijevom donjem čošku imaš piše.
Nema, Medime. I don't, because I wrote it on my paper for this morning. Do not forget to share the sound. But here it's not so important because it's like, do you see my screen in general?
Yes.
Because there is translation. The next video is problematic, but let's see what we are going to do.
You want me to play for you?
Yeah, but then I have to send you my PowerPoint.
I have this video.
Which one?
Doll.
No, the other one is the problem.
Okay.
So I would like, before we continue, I would like to hear from you any comment. Are you familiar with this video, with this experiment?
Can I share again?
Yes, of course.
Yes, I am familiar, and I know that your colleague that you mentioned earlier, Jelena Vranješević, together with Olja Jovanović,
Yes.
yes, they recreated the experiment in Serbian context as well, distinguishing between white doll and Roma doll, and the results were confirmed as well. So another
this is what I wanted to say, that maybe I didn't have time to translate in English, but I think that Lana can ask Jelena for this video. It's with 253 kids. Experiment done in 2020, and it's unbelievable. So it started in 1940, year 1940. Italian experiment is 2016, and Serbian experiment is in 2020, and the answers are the same. So this is how children understand, how they read reality, how they understand the way how their skin color is seen and how the skin color of the others is seen. And this is the first step in something that we call the cycle of, oh, sorry, I don't know what's wrong now. Something is wrong, either with me or with my skills.
So we see the presentations.
Okay, so this is the story how we start the circle of oppression and discrimination. So these are the key concepts. It starts like with stereotypes, and stereotypes are what we think about the others, what we think about ourselves, what we think about the others, about the world. And stereotypes can be positive and negative, but in both cases, stereotypes are very dangerous and very problematic because they are they're denying individuality, they're denying differences between people, and they are based on very little, very small amount of information. They are making general conclusions about the groups and the members of the group. So this is our head. But if you add to head feelings and willingness to react, to take an action, you are coming to prejudice, because they're much more complex. Their attitudes, they have these three levels: thinking, feeling, and connotative part, which means that we have urge to do something. And then we move, when we are ready to react and we have power to do something, that's the moment when discrimination starts. So based on what we think that it's true about the others, feelings which emerge based on the way how we think about something or somebody, and readiness to act. We are denying people some rights. We are saying we are just excluding them. We are not giving them the same opportunity. The opportunities, we are not support. We do not believe in their capacities. So the only thing that we see is what they are lacking, and this is so-called. It's not a strength-based approach, but deficit approach. We always talk about what they are lacking, and you have a lot of examples how this is functioning. Women cannot do that because they are. We think that women are weak, so we feel sorry for them. And then we are not going to allow them to become engineers or pilots or things like that because we want to protect. Or we think that children coming from poor background with undereducated parents. They don't have, poor them, they don't have capacities. We feel sorry for them, so we are not going to give them opportunities that we are offering to others, to children that we see as capable and strong and good socioeconomic background. And then discrimination becomes part of institutions, and it becomes part of the national consciousness. It becomes so-called what Foucault is calling regime of truth. We are not questioning it. We believe in it. We believe that Roma people are lazy. We believe that poor parents do not care about their children. And based on that, we make decisions on their behalf. Is it clear what is making difference between discrimination and oppression? So oppression is basically institutionalism. It's a discrimination which became part of institutions. And there always have to be this balance of power. It is based on this balance of power. Those who have power, they make the rules. If we internalize oppression, then we start to believe in everything that the dominant group is telling about us. We start to believe that we are not competent. We start to believe that we are not good enough. And I think that what you have seen in this video with the black and white doll is the best illustration how internalized oppression is functioning. How children, I think their age is like early school, like 6 or 5 years old, they already believe that something is wrong with them, that something is wrong with their skin color, that they are less worth than the white doll, and automatically children with white skin and blue eyes. And then when we internalize oppression, something called self-fulfilling prophecies started to happen. You know, my favorite illustration for self-fulfilling prophecies is the idiot Dostoevsky's novel. You remember Knez Mishkin. Everybody's telling him that the only important thing is that he doesn't break the vase, but they're telling him that because they know that he's very clumsy. And at the end, he breaks the vase. So this is what is happening. It's by believing that we are everything that the others are telling about us, we start acting in that way, which is feeding stereotypes and prejudices. Is it clear? Or you want me to say something more? Okay, no comment. So I want to now to dive a little bit in discrimination and oppression, because you now remember all that discrimination and oppression lead to the humanization of one social group, and everything is happening because it's on benefit. I don't know, are you aware that in Europe there is a big debate, should we use race as a term? Because it's a social construct. And the social but nobody wants to address the roots of that social construct. Nobody wants to go back and to see that the whole story, that the visible difference that exists between people, like skin color, was used and abused to label one group as less worth, to take all the rights from that group and to do it in a way which benefited those who had power to take the power from the others. We are discriminated and oppressed based on our identity. And as you all know, identity is relational concept. We do not exist without outside world. And the two, when you talk about children, and the first encounter with the real world they have is when they start joining like kindergartens, or when they go out to play with other kids, or when they start schooling. And they're coming with these four extremely important questions. The first question is, who am I? And the second, connected, related to that, is it okay to be me? And we are not making this opinion based on what we think. We are also making it based on information that we are getting from the outside world. So I don't think that these kids with the doll had any issue with their skin color before they joined, for example, kindergarten, when they could feel that there is a difference between them and those who are white. What I'm trying to explain is, it's not about skin color, it's about how we manipulate with the differences that exist between people and how we are using social identities. And the fact that people belong to different social groups to give them more rights and privileges, or to take as much as we can from them. Then the third question is, who are you? And is it okay to be you? And this is again how we learn about the others, but also how we learn, are we better or worse than the others? Because we are pushed to function in dichotomies. We are pushed to group with those who are us and those who are them. And you have this famous scientist, Eiffel, who said, give me 5 minutes and I'm going to create a war. And he does it just by dividing people into groups and creating this feeling of us and them. And I'm sure that in different trainings that you participated, you were involved in activities that required from you to be group A and group B, and then you got some tasks, and then that was the end. The competition started. And in general, whatever we teach others about them, especially if we are in position of the dominant group, is not about them, it's about us. It's about our need to show that we are better than the others. So this is a list. I'm not going to go into details, but this is the list of most common discrimination and oppression. And I think you know, classism is about socioeconomic status, sexism is about sex, ableism is about the level of ability that people have. Ageism is hitting me at this moment. When you're over 60, people look at you in a different way. And I was browsing to find some summer courses, and I can join a knitting course because I'm over 60. Anti-Semitism, heterosexism. Heterosexism is the position that only heterosexual women and men are okay, and that only heterosexual relationships are okay, which means that everything else is not accepted. Linguicism is discrimination based on language, and I'm sure that in your work you are seeing that very often. I was shocked that in the Netherlands, for example, everything is about citizenship. So when children start of diverse backgrounds start preschool and school, they are forbid to speak their first language. Only Dutch language is spoken in educational institutions. Racism, you all know what it is. Sizeism is also hitting me. This is about how big we are. Are we too small or are we too big? And you have to be somewhere in the middle to be okay. And adultism, some people are saying that classism and adultism are the roots of every type of discrimination and oppression. Adultism is discrimination and oppression of children. We never listen to them. We sing songs that children are the decoration of the world. We don't treat them as partners. We always talk about the future. And one more phenomenon, that intersectionality, that if you belong to oppressed and discriminated groups, you usually do not belong to one. You usually belong to more than one. It means that multiple levels of your identity are oppressed and discriminated. And I use this example, poor Roma girl. And then you can add, without dominant language, that she is like a little bit plumpy and things like that. And then her situation is becoming more and more complicated. These are some things I wanted to just to highlight for you, that in the past it was easier because everything was open and clear, so you could easily recognize who is discriminating whom. But now everything became very sophisticated. So I would like you to be aware of this. You have these ambivalentisms. When we have this emotional conflict between positive and negative feelings about groups who are vulnerable, stigmatized, or targeted, and this is this famous sentence: yes, but. But is one of the most dangerous words. Every time when you see but, become very, very scared. Something is coming, and this is what you hear in schools and kindergartens, or when you work with your target groups, when people say, yes, I agree, Roma children or poor children or children with different levels of abilities, yes, they suffer, but all children need to be taken care of. I'm sure you recognize this. And then that's a red flag for you. Modernisms, that people are aware that discrimination is not okay, but then we say, yeah, but they're asking too much. They want all these affirmative actions, and this is another. Remember what I told you about the language. Another word that should be a red flag. It's when they say, and we are giving them. This we are giving them is defining this kind of position of power. Then you cannot talk that this person is really taking care, authentically understanding and taking care of the others. That person is doing that from the position of power. Microaggressions are very present in everyday life, and it starts with, like, when we see Roma children, we say, oh, look how they're beautiful. Like, we are surprised. How can they be so beautiful? Or when you have poor kids and they say, look at him, he's so poor but still clean. This is microaggression. And microassaults are when we consciously and intentionally send messages to the others. I don't know, did you watch TV? Our president in Serbia, he wanted to fight with opposition, and do you know what he told them? Girls, where are you? Do you want to fight? So it means that you are using the term girl to offend somebody, which is illustrating what you think about the girls. Or if you have experience working in educational system, one of the worst things you can do to children is to tell them that you will send them in the group with the youngest. Or if they are in primary school, that you're going to send them to the first grade, which is sending a message, what you think about younger children and what you think the punishment is to be with somebody who is, I don't know, underdeveloped, stupid, incompetent, and then you are going to suffer. Does this have any sense? Does it make sense what I'm saying? Just the sound. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, so this is how it can be manifested, implicit, explicit, and I think that I also mentioned some of these things. But I think it's very important to be sensitive to these implicit forms. And I like the most unconscious, when we really do not understand what we are saying. And how do they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. When we say, oh, poor children, we should not overburden them. Or let's do everything to put children from low-income families into vocational education. This is good for them. They will get jobs. So this is what are the devastating effects of unfairness, discrimination, and oppression. So for children from dominant groups, I'm going only to highlight few of them. That's denial of reality. They don't understand what's happening in the world, and they're asking this question all the time, but why they're complaining? Everything is okay. It's rationalization. They find always, they were taught to find way to justify discrimination and oppression, lack of empathy. One of the reasons why it's so difficult to find allies in a dominant group is because they cannot connect with the experience of the others. It's not that they're bad people, they just don't have capacity and experience to be able to connect with the others. Then this feeling of superiority, which is going to feed their future acts, and they're going to perpetuate everything that is happening. And internalized domination, which is based on taking privileges as something that belongs to you. Having water, having electricity, going to school, having books when you're a child, they don't see it as something special. It's part of their life. On the other side, and I'm going to merge this a little bit, is this feeling of shame and willingness to identify with the dominant group. And you could also see it in this video with the doll. How they look at this white doll. They would love to be, or when we did the living library in Serbia, Roma children washing their hands for hours because they were believing that their skin will become white. Then very dangerous thing, which is leaving their group behind. Alienation from the family and community, despising community, wanting to be something else, and the feeling of hopelessness, helplessness, and learned powerlessness, which is making them depressed, apathic, and I think you can see that in schools among children. When you tell them dream big, they say, but there's no chance, there's no way out. And then internalized oppression steps in, which is sending a message, you are not made for that. It's not your story. I'm going to skip next video because I don't have sound, and I want to just to stress few things when you are working with children. One size fits all, and this is your favorite sentence that you can hear everywhere. We treat all children identically. We respect them all. We should not draw attention to differences. And then you have this situation as it presented on this slide. Then the question of justice, equity, and fairness. And I'm sure that during this school you also discussed equality means, and since I'm living in the Netherlands, I use bikes. Equality means that we give the same support and same resources to all kids, but it's not working because support has to be customized and personalized, not only for children from marginalized and vulnerable groups, but for all kids. They all have to feel comfortable on their bicycle, and that our duty is to create conditions in which each and every child can develop and thrive. And this is, I think you know this one, this is very famous. So the first one, we give them the same boxes they don't see. In the second one, you give them different boxes. But the goal, the main goal is to put this fence down and let these kids in. So also when you work with children, pay attention to blame the victim. And I have a special request from my colleagues from NGO world. This is a trap that we usually fall in. So what it means, blame the victim? It means that we place reasons for children not being successful in the educational system, which is not made and not friendly to them. We make them and their families responsible without addressing systemic barriers and discrimination. Systemic barriers in terms of what kind of support they can have, which language is used. My favorite is also so-called hidden costs of free of charge education, when they tell you in our country education is free, but it's not, because you have to buy pencils, you have to buy slippers, you have to bring this, you have to bring that, and then these kids are out. They cannot contribute in the same way. And then you come and you say, because we don't want to include them in this celebration, because we don't want to put additional financial burden on their families. So under mask of protecting children, we are basically excluding them. But here in blame the victim. So for example, the children from low SES are leaving school earlier. So we say, parents with low level of education do not value education. Highly educated parents know how education is important. And then children from, and then we say children from, make like conclusion that children from low SES are leaving school earlier and have lower grades because their parents do not value education. So the whole horror happened in our head. We didn't check anything. And then what do? We organize parents meetings, workshops, we explain to them how education is organized, we give them brochures, we tell them that if they don't change their attitude, nothing will change. Is it true? Even if they change their attitude and the school or preschool system does not change and become more supportive and inclusive, is really something good going to happen? I'm not sure. You also need to avoid this color blindness, saying, I don't care, for me everybody is the same. That's not okay, because those who are we can call it color blindness or diversity blindness. Those who are different, they know that you are denying their existence because they are different and we are all different. Tokenism, it's also very subtle way how we can label and put children in not very favorable position. This is when we pick one child from the group and we put that child in focus, just to show how nice and inclusive we are, how progressive we are. And this is like, look at him, despite of his poor background, he's doing so well. He's also a member of the school parliament. So we just put one child and all the others are invisible. And also stereotyping when presenting. Oh, sorry, it's the same. And transformation, what has to be done differently? I think this illustration shows how small we know about this black box called "and then a miracle happens." And I believe in miracles. I believe in transformation. I believe in goodness in people. I believe in good intentions in adults working, in most of adults working with children. I just know that all of us, we were taught in the wrong way, and we need to put an effort to create a change. So this is how we do it in ISSA, and this program was developed by Sanja Brajković from Croatia, Jelena, and me with the help of our colleagues. So we are focusing on feelings, thoughts, and action, and we call it 3H, heart, head, and hands. And if you unpack this, this is the story about what hearts mean. It means building positive feelings in children and strong group and individual identity. We nurture what you have to do with children who belong to vulnerable groups is to nurture their multiple identities, because what the system is doing by labeling them and putting them in specific categories and groups, they're denying richness of their identity. They're only Roma or they're only poor. But they're not. There's so much in them beyond that one single label. And I will just pick some few of them in when we talk about head. From the very beginning, we have to work with adults and with children on critical thinking, on encouraging dialogue, on speaking out, naming reality, addressing prejudices, and believe it or not, they know. At the age of 2, they know about the color scheme. At the age of 3, they know everything about sexism, and they're very much aware of gender. And transformation and action, it means that we have to promote interactive and learning strategies. We have to work with parents and families, because the worst thing that can happen, we divide. We make children leave their families and despise their language and families and communities. And in that way, we erase a crucial part of their identity. And we have to join forces and fight all the forms of discrimination and oppression, and we all need to become more responsible. Thank you. Sorry, I went over my time.